Well, if this happens and there are mass arrests and all this theatre's put on, we run with it. We say, well, this is great. We're no longer tolerating wrong behavior. And we push it further and we stand in that. And we say, okay, well, now we are free, and we act that way.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing they can do against that. If people do that, hang on, you can't stop me doing this. We just made this, new reality where we don't tolerate wrong behavior anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to come along with me as government, and cause harm, well, I'm going to do the same to you as what you just did to the Clinton Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're doing is basically human rights abuse, because you're causing harm. So therefore, this new executive order can be used against you as well, can be used against Trump, can be used against any action government takes which is causing harm. So we run with it. We believe it. Okay, great. You've done it. Now we're free. Let's be free. Don't just say, oh, gee, that's great. Now we'll be led this way. No, we run with it. We put it straight in their face and say, good on you. We're going to go with this. Thank you very much for coming. And if you don't like it, you can go as well. That's the way we do it. Have the confidence to do that. Have the spirit to do that. Embrace the warrior spirit, folks. Get back to your divinity. Whether you're male or female, get back to your divinity and stand in it, and there's nothing they can do.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you for saying that, Max. I mean, it is. I really think the events taking place in the world are really forcing us to find the inner warrior within. To really, where do you stand, man? You can't just pretend like you don't know what's going on anymore. It's like 9/11. If you are not going to look at both sides of the argument, you're just going to pretend like it's this, that there's not another side to it, then you're going to be forced into a shit or get off the pot moment. If you ask me, in the future, it's going to come to that. You're going to have to look at all this stuff.
Yeah, what we've got to do is run with it. And it's the danger is that people will see it and they'll go, oh, wow, that's great. We've all been saved. And they'll sit back to watch what happens next.
Yeah.
They've got to embrace that moment. When that moment happens, and yes, we're all saved. Okay, now we're free. Stand up right then and run with it. Because they won't expect people to do that. They'll expect people to sigh this big, huge sigh of relief and then go back to their television. But we don't have to do that. We can actually we can pull their bluff, and we can run with their bluff, and they won't be able to combat that at all if we do that.
Yeah, and I suppose that kind of beckons the question. I mean, if tomorrow the Rothschilds, we saw them, brought away in handcuffs, or I don't know, something pretty definitive that their power was going to be reduced. Within the truther community, like, where does our focus go after that? If we do get these mass arrests, where does the truther community, the people that are involved, like guys like you, Max, David Ikes, do we keep continually talking about the atrocities that have been done, or does the focus change now to something, forward thinking?
Well, the focus, I only ever point out the atrocities and the things people have done to try to, explain to people that the world is run by criminals. Here's the evidence.
I think it's necessary right now, for sure.
Well, it is, but what we need to do is maintain our focus on the bigger picture, which is where it should have been all the time. This is why I keep saying there's no good pointing the finger at people. You can point the finger at the Rothschilds or the Freemasons or the Jesuits or the Jews or whatever. I make a lot of noise against Israel because of what they're doing to the Palestinian people and the fact that they're in control of so many governments and they're helping with a lot of this. But again, they're not the real problem. The problem is our lack of moral compass. So, and our unwillingness to look at the bigger picture, because all these things are put there to give us something to fight about. The situation between Israel and Palestine has been going on since I was a kid. Gaza, it's been in the news since I was 5 years old. So, this could have been rectified years ago. It isn't rectified just to keep us focusing on it and trying to heal it when it can't be healed. It's the same as the chemtrails. You keep focused on it, they can't be healed until you deal with the corruption itself, the inherent problems and the smart grid and everything that's happening underneath it, which is where the focus should be. And until that stops, then the focus should remain there. Even if, the Rothschilds are all let out in handcuffs and Hillary Clinton's taken to The Hague and whatever, look around you. What's changing? Okay, now this is done. Has anything changed? Nothing has changed. So, don't sit back and think, oh, gee, that's great. All the corrupt people have been arrested. No, they haven't. A few scapegoats have been hung out to dry to make you kick back for a little while and lose focus on the bigger picture, which is where it should have been all along. The smart grid and the underlying direction that humanity is being led never changes. Doesn't matter who's in power, which government gets in, which countries come, which governments come and fall and go and whatever. We're all moving in the same direction. And that is what needs to be addressed. That's where the focus needs to be. You know, maintaining human creative potential and human ability for freedom of expression. This is where the focus needs to be. Anything that is removing that is not your friend. And anything that is removing that, is subtly removing these little things for you, and you're giving all these other things to focus on, pay attention to what's happening below the surface, because all of this stuff is a theater. It's all play. Now, with the amount of wakefulness in the world, you know, the amount of people that know there's something terribly wrong, you'd have to do something like this, have this big QAnon thing and this executive order and whatever. And like I said, even if people are arrested for human rights abuses and whatever, keep a focus on the smart grid, keep a focus on what's happening underneath, and don't allow yourself to be led. Always maintain your sovereignty, if that's the right word. You know, your uniqueness, your freedom. Your freedom as a living expression of creation that you are. Don't ever give that up.
Max, put on your ultra optimistic hat. Like, what is, if everything just went absolutely to the max perfect in terms of, you know, shutting down this cabal, and then, you know, bringing in the golden age, which I think so many of us can see and feel. I mean, especially if you've tapped into entheogenic plants, many of us are getting visions of what that could even look like. What is the true potential of humanity? I mean, if putting on that optimistic hat, how quickly could we actually get to that point? I mean, could we actually rid this planet of corruption and help almost retrain everyone in a sense over the next 10 years? I mean, could 10 years from now we actually be living in no more poverty? No, you know, the Earth is really in a much better place. We've cleaned up the messes, and you know, how quickly could it happen?
It could happen pretty quickly. I mean, it could happen overnight if people were to change their moral compass, but of course that's not going to happen. But even if we were to arrest everybody and get everything happening and get the system, you know, functioning in a state where it serves mankind, you know, if we all run with it, as I said, you know, we have a real opportunity to really turn this back on them and put it back in their face and just run with this so-called freedom that they're pretending to give us. We accept it as freedom, and we believe we are free, and we just go from there. You know, we could be living in a very different world in 10 years, but again, it's going to take at least 3 generations to re-educate people, you know, to retrain people back into having life skills. I mean, you think about even now, the teachers, the people that are teaching the kids in school, a lot of these teachers don't have real life skills because they were never taught them, because we're a few generations down now from where this big schism happened. You know, so it's going to take at least 3 generations to educate people back to a point where they're able to govern themselves and they're able to see their own worth. I mean, you might do it quicker. You might get a lot of people come through in 1 generation and you'll see massive changes. But it's going to take at least 2 or 3, realistically, to get people back to a point where they are capable of self-governance and capable of really understanding what a moral compass is. You know, even people who want anarchy and want voluntarism and all this sort of stuff, that's all very well. But if the world was to simply, you know, we were to pull this system down and was to erupt into a voluntarist society now, most of the people wouldn't survive because they simply don't have the life skills to survive. You know, kids coming out of college now that don't have the intellectual capability to know how to use a tape measure. They know how to use all the latest apps, but they can't use a tape measure. They can't find their way around their own city without a GPS. They can't find their way anywhere or do anything without an instruction manual. So, you know, people have had their cognitive function lowered. Just their ability to think is being taken away from people, which is what all these conveniences do. They remove your ability to think about anything. Turn your little drone, turn left here, turn right there, do what the GPS says. Don't think about anything. So, you know, in that sort of a situation where everybody is so dependent upon technology, and technology has replaced their real interactive life skills, it's now this little world that they use as a medium, as an interface to interact with the world. Now they have to get them back. So, yeah, realistically, I mean, 3 generations. But yeah, we could see some change. in 10 years. We could see some change in 1 year. If everyone was to really stand up and call things, we could see change very, very quickly. You know, it's whether people are willing to do it. You know, and again, most people are scared, cognitive dissonance. They don't want to be the one. They know something's terribly wrong. They want it to change. They want to stand up, but you first. You first, and then I'll stand up behind you and I'll hold your coat while you speak for me. You know, it's not going to work. I mean, I've had people rally around me to do that. And then they've realized, well, hang on, what are we doing? Come on, Max, lead us. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? I'm out here talking. I'm leading myself. I can't lead you. Only you can lead you. If you want me to lead you, you're missing the point. Completely. You know, that's the point, is that I'm a nobody. I'm just this guitar player. I'm not anything. I don't even have a proper education. I left school in the 3rd year of high school. I never went past there. You know, I've just got life skills and street knowledge because I lived on the streets so many years, and I lived on the outside of society, and I can kind of see it, but I can't lead you. I can lead myself to a position where I'm okay and I'm living after my life and doing my things, but you know, if you want me to lead you, you're missing the point. And then they sort of realize, well, hang on, that's all we're doing is we're saying, well, go on, Max, you do it. You get in the boxing ring and we'll hold your coat. It doesn't work that way. You know, you got to hold your own coat, and you got to get in the ring yourself, and you got to stand up for yourself. Everybody has to do that. And it's a very simple thing to do. All you have to do is know yourself. It's not confrontational. It's just when someone comes along and tries to treat you like a slave, ask them why they think they have the right to own you. Why you believe you can exercise a right of ownership over me. It doesn't work that way. And if you're coming from government, well, hang on, that's not what we employ you to do. That's actually causing harm. So you're actually breaking the law. So who are you? You know, if police come along and annoy you, you're being a nuisance. Why did you pull me over? You're being a nuisance. Isn't it a law, being a nuisance? Look it up. It's a law. You just pulled me over and you put me on a breathalyzer when I'm on my way somewhere. You're being a nuisance, mate. You know, it's as simple as that.